So that's explained the basic TTL mode and the high-speed TTL mode, and what I'm now going to do is take the flash off camera and go into wireless mode. So I'm going to wake it up there, and I go back to the main menu and go to wireless mode. Now at the moment the flash is on the camera, so I can set it to master or remote. I'm going to set it to remote though, and then I'm going to take it off of the camera. Go to remote mode. There we go, and it's set to channel 1, group A. And at the moment the zoom is set to 24mm. Okay, so here's the flash. It's now set off camera, and it's set to remote wireless mode. And it's making a gentle little ticking noise, and the autofocus lamps on the front are flashing at the moment just to tell me that it's in standby mode in remote flash. And there are my boots. And here's the camera, and we now need to set the camera up to recognise or to trigger the slave flash. So what I'm going to do is go to the flash control function. Go to flash control, make sure that flash firing is enabled. The built-in flash is set to through the lens version 2. It's set to first curtain sync. Can't set second curtain because we're running off camera flash. Then we leave it in evaluative metering mode. Now I'm going to set this so that we've got the two flash, both the flash on the camera and the remote flash firing together, and they're going to fire in a ratio. So here we've got the external flash ratioed to the internal flash. You can also turn the internal flash off and just have the external, or you can sum the pair of them, in which case you set exposure compensation rather than a ratio. And make sure that is set to the channel number 1. The exposure compensation I'm going to leave at 0, and then the ratio between the two flashes is at the moment set at 4:1. So what I'll first of all do is then go into live view mode so you can see what we're doing. Just focus on my boots. Now I've noticed we're still in high speed mode here, so what I'm going to do is go back to program mode. Here we're at 25th at f4.5. So now we're going to, if I can get the camera. Okay, so I'm going to pop the flash up, move back a bit so you can see. There's the off-camera flash, there's the on-camera flash, and my boots. Now when I focus, and both of the flash guns are fired. Now that was at 4:1. What you can do is set the ratio. Go to flash control again, built-in flash function settings, choose this, and then we can go to 1:1 ratio between the internal and the external flash, and that will create a much greater fill-in effect. So there you go. When you're using the flash gun off of camera, what you can of course do is change the zoom setting, which will allow you to change both the intensity of the light and the amount of spread of the light. So if you're using the remote flash gun a long way from the camera, then you can adjust the zoom setting to take account of that, or if you even want to bounce the light. So here you can increase the zoom, so we can go up to maybe 50mm or 70mm, put it back down to 50. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to angle the flash upwards and bounce it. So there we go. I'm just going to move that around a little there towards the side. Go back to the camera. Turn live view back on. There we go. Now, what I've done there is something that I seem to do very frequently, that while I've been trying to scroll down to change the zoom, I've actually changed up to channel 3, so the flash didn't fire that time, so I want to go back down to channel 1 again. Leave it at 50mm. Now this time I'm going to push the lock button, which is the power button, push it once for a short period and it locks, and now you're not going to accidentally change anything. Turn it back round again, come back to the camera, focus, and this time the fill-in flash also fired. So if you push the set button, you get the main menu with the 6 icons. The first of these is standard auto mode. The second is TTL mode, so the flash gun is controlled by the camera. Once in TTL mode, if you hold the set button for 2 seconds, you reach the advanced settings. As you can see, the first one of the advanced settings is a sub flash, which you can cycle on or off. And when on, you can cycle through 1/128th of power all the way up to full power of the sub flash. The sub flash has a guide number of approximately 12. Now the sub flash, which is on the front of the Nissin 866, is only available when you're using it in bounce mode. When you've angled the flash straight forward, it will not operate. So if you see on the screen here, it doesn't tell you that the sub flash is available. If I tilt up, it then says sub for sub flash. That's telling you that the sub flash will now fire. If we go into the menu, you can see it's going to fire at 1/128th of normal power. On this menu, we can also turn the manual zoom off or on. When manual zoom is off, the zoom ratio is controlled from the camera. When you put zoom on, then the ratio is controlled from the flash gun. You also have the ability to change from first to second curtain sync, which means that you can control whether you get the smearing before or after the flash on moving objects. You've also got on here the high speed mode. Now I showed you on the camera that you can actually use the high speed flash mode. This can be turned on either on the camera or on the flash here. Now if you notice, as you turn the high speed mode on or off on the flash, it changes from second curtain sync to first curtain sync, and also turns off the sub flash. When you're in high speed mode, you can't sync with the second curtain and you can't use the sub flash. You also have the ability on here to turn on bracketing, flash exposure bracketing. So you will take 3 shots at a ±3, ±2, or whatever settings you want to set it at. It's exactly the same as the options which are available on the camera. The next menu item on the flash is a manual mode. You then have the strobe mode. The strobe mode will allow you to change the frequency and the number of flashes. So here I've set it to 20 Hz, so 20 flashes per second, and I've set it to 20 flashes at 1/64th power. Now as you change the power, as you can see, we've gone down to 1/32nd power now, and the number of flashes available has dropped from 20 to 12. If I go to 1/16th, it's gone down to 8, and 1/8 it's gone down to 4 flashes. So this means you're only going to get 4/20th of a second at 20 Hz. If you go up to 1/128th power, you can then increase this again, because the capacitors will be able to discharge and cause the required number of flashes because the power is much lower. And also on this page you can turn the auto zoom on or off again, or you can cycle through the manual zoom settings. Okay, the last menu item, or the second to last menu item before the settings menu, is the remote flash. Now this will allow you to set the flash to master if it's attached to the camera, in which case it will control other remote or slave flashes, or you can set it to remote mode. And here is set in remote mode on channel 1 group A, and the zoom at the moment is set to 50mm. So what I can do is change that zoom setting manually. Unlike the dedicated Canon Speedlights, the Nissin Di866 will not automatically zoom when in remote or slave mode, which I actually prefer to the Speedlights because it means I can control the amount and the spread of light from the Di866 rather than having it controlled for me by the distance the camera is away from the target and the lens setting I've got. The last item on here is the settings menu. The settings menu allows you to set what's called My TTL. What that does is it allows you to set a permanent exposure compensation based on your perceived output of the flash. If you think the flash is brighter than it should be, then you can dial in a small amount or a larger amount up to plus or minus 3 EV. You can dial in some exposure compensation which will be stored and kept forever by the Flashgun until you reset it. You then got the modelling light, which fires a quick burst of high frequency flashes which allow you to see the spread and the type of lighting effect you're going to get. You can then turn the display on the flash on and off to save power if you want to, and you can turn the rotation on and off. The rotation is quite a clever feature because it means that when you're operating the flash upright like this, you can see the display. You turn the flash to the right, you can still see the display. Turn the flash to the left, and it rotates that way as well. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't go upside down. Not sure whether that would be too much of a problem, but it doesn't do it. You can change the units of measurement from meters to feet if you so desire. And then on the next page you've got the auto off setting. The flash will always go to sleep after about 30 seconds or so, but then it will be reawoken if you do something with the camera or touch one of the buttons. The auto off actually turns the flash off, and at the moment I've got that set to 60 minutes. There's a firmware version number. You can reset all of the internal functions on the flash back to their standards, and you can turn the buzzer on and off. What this does is, as you've probably heard, when the flash is fired in a slave mode or remote mode, then the buzzer will buzz to you to confirm that the flash has fired and received a signal OK. One thing that you can do if you're in TTL mode is if you just push quickly the on-off button, then a little lock icon appears in the corner of the screen. That now means that the buttons on the flash are locked and you can't accidentally change one of the settings. Push it again and it goes back to normal. And then obviously if you push and hold the power button, it will turn the flash off.